Welcome to Fun Facts Online. When we talk about the history of Egyptology, about the moment the lights were turned back on in a civilization that had gone dark for 1,000 years, there is one object that monopolizes the conversation. You know the one. It is the superstar of the British Museum, the icon of decipherment, the Rosetta Stone. Found in 1799, it gave Jean-François Champollion the key to unlock the hieroglyphs. But here is a truth that often gets lost in the popular narrative. The decipherment of ancient Egyptian wasn't a solo act, and the Rosetta Stone wasn't the only player on the stage. Decades after that initial breakthrough, another stone emerged from the sands of the Nile Delta. This one was older. It was more complete. And in terms of scientific ambition, it was vastly superior. This is the story of the Decree of Canopus. To understand this artifact, we have to look past the stone itself and look at the world that created it. The date is March 7th, 238 BC. The place is Canopus, a bustling port city about 25 kilometers east of where Alexandria sits today. At this moment in history, the Ptolemaic kingdom is at the absolute height of its power. Sitting on the throne is Pharaoh Ptolemy III, a man known by the epithet Euergetes, which translates to the benefactor, and he wasn't called that ironically. The decree we are discussing today was issued by a massive gathering, a synod of priests, to honor this king and his wife, Queen Berenice II. But why? Why would the indigenous Egyptian priesthood gather to heap such extravagant praise on a Greek king? The answer lies in the geopolitical thriller that was playing out in the background. The decree's opening lines reference the king's military campaigns in Asia. This is a polite way of describing the Third Syrian War, a conflict that reads like a script from a high-stakes dynastic drama. It started with a succession crisis in the rival Seleucid Empire. The Seleucid king had died, and his two wives, one of whom was Ptolemy's sister, Berenice Syra, went to war over whose son would inherit the crown. The rival wife, Laodice, moved fast. She had Berenice and her infant son murdered. When news of this reached Egypt, Ptolemy III didn't just send a diplomatic protest. He launched a war of vengeance. He marched his army out of Egypt and pushed deeper into Seleucid territory than any pharaoh before him, reaching as far as Babylon. But it is what he brought back that mattered to the priests at Canopus. The decree tells us that he recovered the sacred images of the gods. You have to understand the deep cultural wound this addressed. 3 centuries earlier, the Persian emperor Cambyses II had conquered Egypt and looted the temples, carrying off statues of Amun, Ptah, and Osiris to Persia. For 300 years, the empty spaces in those temples served as a reminder of Egypt's humiliation. When Ptolemy returned from his campaign, he didn't just bring back gold. He brought back the gods. He restored them to their shrines. By doing this Greek king presented himself as the restorer of Ma'at, or cosmic order. He proved he was more Egyptian than the Egyptians. But his role as the benefactor wasn't just about war. The decree also records a crisis that could have ended the dynasty: the failure of the Nile flood. In an agricultural society, a low Nile meant famine. The text explicitly states that during a year of low inundation, the king and queen did not collect the usual taxes. Instead, they dipped into their own treasury, spending vast amounts of gold to import grain from Syria, Phoenicia, and Cyprus to feed the population. The priests, who controlled the temple lands and knew exactly how close the country had come to starvation, understood that their survival depended on this stability. So in 238 BC, they offered him something priceless in return: divinity. This brings us to the content of the decree itself. It is a dense, multi-layered document that serves as a masterclass in ancient political theater. The synod decided to reorganize the priesthood itself to honor the royal couple. Traditionally, temple priests were divided into 4 tribes, or phylae, serving in rotation. The decree established a 5th tribe, the tribe of the benefactor gods. This was a radical administrative change, embedding the worship of Ptolemy and Berenice directly into the daily mechanism of every temple in Egypt. But the most shocking part of the Decree of Canopus isn't the politics. It is the science. This stone contains an attempt to rewrite time itself. The ancient Egyptian civil calendar was simple but flawed. It had 365 days. However, the actual solar year is about a quarter of a day longer. This meant the calendar wandered. Every 4 years, it fell 1 day behind the seasons. Over centuries, summer festivals would drift into winter. The priests and astronomers at Canopus proposed a solution that was 2,000 years ahead of its time. The decree states that from now on, 1 day, a festival of the benefactor gods, shall be added every 4 years to the 5 additional days at the end of the year. This is the first recorded instance of a leap year in human history. It predates Julius Caesar's calendar reform by nearly 2 centuries. It was an elegant, scientific solution to a theological problem. If it had been implemented, The Alexandrian calendar would have kept perfect time from 238 BC onward, but in a twist of irony, it failed. The Egyptian priesthood was deeply conservative. They were attached to the rhythm of the wandering year, which allowed the gods to cycle through the seasons. After Ptolemy III died, the leap day was abandoned, only to be forcibly reintroduced by the Romans centuries later. Amidst this high science and politics, the decree also captures a moment of profound personal grief. During the synod, the king and queen's young daughter, Princess Berenice, died suddenly. The priests turned this tragedy into a moment of religious innovation. They deified the child. The decree lays out elaborate rituals for her worship. It mentions a special loaf of bread, the bread of Berenice, to be shaped specifically for her cult and distributed to the wives of priests. It describes a gold statue of the princess, inlaid with precious stones, to be carried in processions alongside Osiris, wearing a crown that combined the royal cobra with ears of corn, symbolizing harvest and resurrection. This section reveals the human heartbeat inside the stone. It was a way for the clergy to comfort a grieving family by assuring them their daughter lived on among the gods. Now, let's fast forward to the modern era. For a long time, we only knew about this decree from vague references. Then, in 1866, the Prussian Egyptologist Carl Richard Lepsius made a discovery in the ruins of Tanis that changed everything. He found a limestone stele, over 2 meters high, containing the decree in 3 scripts: hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek. This was the Rosetta Stone 2.0, but it was better. The hieroglyphic section of the Rosetta Stone is shattered. Only the last 14 lines survive. The Tanis stone was intact. It provided a complete hieroglyphic text that could be compared line by line with the Greek. It served as the final confirmation that Champollion's decipherment was correct, silencing the skeptics who thought he was just guessing. But the story of the Canopus decree didn't end in the 19th century. In a development that stunned the archaeological world just recently, in September 2025, an Egyptian mission at Tel El Farain, the site of the ancient city of Buto, pulled a new witness from the mud. They found a pristine sandstone stele, standing over 1 meter tall. But this one had a twist. Unlike the famous trilingual versions found by Lepsius, this 2025 discovery is monolingual. It is inscribed only in hieroglyphs. This challenges our entire understanding of how these decrees were disseminated. It suggests that in certain high-status, traditional temples like Buto, the Greek and Demotic translations were considered unnecessary, or perhaps even unwanted in the Holy of Holies. It implies a target audience of elite priests who needed no translation. This discovery allows philologists to study the hieroglyphic text in isolation, seeing exactly how the sacred script was used when it wasn't constrained by being a direct translation of a Greek master copy. The Canopus decree is more than just a backup to the Rosetta Stone. It is a hologram of a civilization in transition. It shows us a Greek king trying to be a pharaoh, a priesthood negotiating their survival, and a society grappling with the mechanics of the cosmos. From the grief of a lost princess to the audacity of inventing the leap year, it covers the full spectrum of the human experience. The Rosetta Stone gave us the alphabet, but the Decree of Canopus gave us the world. Thank you for listening to G Fun Facts Online.